Where are you, Phil?
What do you mean?
You sound like you're in like a, I don't know, train station. It sounds really loud.
Even now? Right now?
Now it's better. Just now it was like super loud.
Yeah. I just have to change my mic and headset.
Yeah.
So now I finally got myself
a proper mic.
A proper mic.
See? About time. Everybody's here
Actually,
early.
to be honest, I've had this mic for years. I didn't have
Kept it in a box?
a free USB port.
That was the reason
no,
you didn't use it?
Yeah. So now I have to trade with my game controller.
Priorities, right?
Hello, good evening.
Hell's yeah.
Good evening.
Hey, Benny.
Good evening. Luke's just joined as well. Luke, do you want to give do you want to kick us off with a product update?
Wow, straight into it, hey? No messing
Straight
around.
into the frying pan.
Yep, sure. Yep, can do. Hey, everyone. Okay, so yeah, there's been a few things, and we got a bit of stuff in the works as well. So there's some Slam stuff happening, and Phil might want to elaborate on that in a minute. But there's some Slam improvements underway, including leaderboards, etc. So we're bringing in some of the stuff from the mobile game. Obviously, we released the Vault version with the arcade as well. So I know that a few people have had a chance to go in and look at that. It's in all the community channels at the moment, and we're about to push that to the public channels. Air hockey's underway as well. So I know people probably saw the air hockey tables in there. So that's happening. That's being worked on at the moment. And also working on the Vault avatars in the arcade. So bringing in the Ready Player Me avatars and eventually the Citizen avatars. You would have seen there's YouTube music in the apartments. So we'll obviously keep expanding on that between now and when we launch. By expanding, I mean, adding additional functionality like YouTube videos, etc. There's even potential for paid services like subscription services that people can sign into themselves. So we're just working out the UI side of things for that because it gets a bit tricky. Obviously, we don't want to actually make end up making an operating system or anything for these TVs. But yeah, obviously we want to expand that, as I said. But yeah, the music's there, so you can go in and muck around with that if you haven't already. The version 2 of the Vault portal is progressing well as well. So we're bringing in the district owner functionality. So the stuff that's in the old portal at the moment that hasn't been brought across yet is being worked on now. So that'll all get amalgamated and we'll have one portal for everything. A lot of UI stuff. So you would have seen the new menu where we've pulled a lot of stuff in there. So we'll be continuing to do that. One of the examples of that is like in the apartments at the moment, where you've got the UI showcase, which is basically a bunch of panels on the wall. Obviously, that's not good UI or good use of space long term. So that's getting pulled into the menus as well. So that'll happen based on an individual being able to call that up inside of their own apartment and not having guests obviously having access to that publicly. The reason we put it up on the wall obviously for now is just because it's accessible and easy and multiple people need to be able to use it at once. So we're going to tidy that up. There's a lot of focus on stability. So we're looking at crash analytics data at the moment and making sure that the actual it's stable. Even some of these little tiny crashes that you can't see, they still obviously affect the performance and experience overall. So we're focusing on that. I know there's a lot of things that might seem like they're not exciting, but as I said last time, it's all about stability now, making sure that this product is rock solid when we start building out the big stuff on top. And then the last thing really is just marketing. So we're doing a bit of marketing this week. We're just kicking it off, and that'll obviously ramp up when the next stable build goes out. But we're starting off that campaign now. I don't know if you want to elaborate on that, Lala.
Sure. Well, to be specific, right now it will be just pushing in terms of downloads. We are coming up with a more out-of-the-box type campaign for that, but for now it's really pushing for Facebook ads and a few options. In terms of influencers, we have a few lined up. The only thing is that we do want to make sure that influencers get the best experience. So this week, in regards to us having the VR beer pong competition with the community, is really to test that out first. So internally, even as a community, we know what to expect. And when we get the influencers in there, it'll be a much better feel for them, and they can do the necessary videos and how-tos as well from the marketing side of things.
And we're also looking at doing some stuff in side quest as well, just to make sure that we're visible in there and people know we're in there. So yeah, that's a bunch of stuff happening there. Hopefully that'll get some numbers in. Obviously we wanted to keep that campaign off a little bit sooner, but we didn't want to do it until we had a stable build. That kind of defies the whole purpose of doing it. So yeah, we've got a pretty solid build now. There's a little bit of just a little bit of work we need to do on Fear, which is happening at the moment, which again is just around stability. But there'll be a new build this week internally. So as soon as we've tested that, we'll push that out as well. That'll just have some nothing big in that one. That's just really about bug fixes and tidying up.
Although for Fear, if anyone's gone in there, you'll notice that there's now character randomization. So it's randomized, but you're not just a gargoyle anymore. And then Luke, if I can add for what we're doing with Slam.
Yeah, I was about to ask you anyway, so go for it, mate.
Yeah, so like I said last week, we are launching tournaments first so that we can start doing events. And then Pete and his team came up with a new method for getting the COG art on the COGs. So now all COGs will be viewable, not just what we're able to upload to our S3 server. So that should be cool. So any COG in your wallet will be viewable because it's now pulling the art directly from the NFT rather than a separate art server. So it was really cool that a thief from Pete's team was able to figure that one out. That's it for me.
Thanks, Phil.
Thank you, guys. Anything else that you want to add while you're there, Lala?
Yep. So basically right now what I'm looking at, Atish actually has a question in terms of Facebook and if it's a social media platform for VR users. At this point, Facebook is the most flexible one as well as community-wise in terms of builders. That's relatively where most of them sit. There are a lot of Facebook groups that talk about VR, what are the expansions. So we're looking into that. Apart from that, it gives us the flexibility to also promote it on Instagram and other platforms that are around the Facebook ecosystem. So we are definitely testing that one out. But in terms of builders, yes, we have spotted a few Facebook groups that are builders, users, and basically community members that are very passionate about VR. Another option that we are going for, of course, is promoting it via SideQuest. SideQuest, of course, will be touching on the base that's already there, but we're confident that it will be a good base to still promote and also market to. So hang tight. I'll definitely share over more plans next week in terms of where we're going, but we are definitely going to be doing the necessary to get more people in.
Thank you. So one of the questions, well, I've got two questions that I've had raised during the week that I've been asked to tackle tonight as well, for those of you who are here or not. One of them is in relation to what type of projects are we seeing that are interested now. So maybe Luke and Phil can talk a bit about that as well. But ultimately, we've got a number of gaming companies, and again, like I said to you, themes will be themes, right? If people see that there's a couple of games in there, other games will say, okay, I want to go in there, but it's good to mix it up and to get some different natured things in there. So if we're talking to a few gaming companies still, we're talking to a few people that want to import stuff that's already built. Some want to build from scratch. I've had also someone reach out that does, I don't understand it. I have to have a look at it. I haven't had the meeting yet, being very honest. The company does, the way that I understand it is it's kind of like Lego, like for, you know, how Minecraft and that have those that look and feel. So you've got Lego blocks and they do VR Lego block building, but with those blocks, once you put the Lego blocks together, it builds the thing, which so say you build a boat out of Lego, it turns into an actual boat. I have to see it to really understand it more. Maybe some of you have come across something like that in your ventures, but that's the way they explained it to me. So that's, it's good to get different types of stuff in there for sure. I had a phone call this afternoon that was asking about casinos again. We've had everything through from rudeness right through to games, lots and lots of games, but different types of games as well. So plenty of interest. It's more, how do people get involved? Lala and I this week will try and tackle some of those questions, and one of the questions is how do creators get more involved? And then the other question was in relation to creators, will you have some sort of marketplace for creators? I'm assuming that question means a marketplace for creators to register. So the answer to that is yes. What we want to do is build up a pool of candidates who are developers or builders, and those people would then therefore be able to nominate their services. But I think, Luke, it's fair to say that the rate that AI is moving at and the rate that these tools are developing as well, I wouldn't be surprised if you end up being able to voice prompt builds pretty soon.
Yeah, it's funny, and we were talking about this earlier today, the fact that we've already started building stuff in AI that's already changing. So as you're building it, it's changing dynamically. So we have to almost be one step ahead. There's so much stuff emerging now, and there's so many use cases that we haven't even thought of yet, and probably a lot of people haven't thought of. But again, we want to leverage it, but we don't want to overuse it. We don't want to use it for the sake of it. We just want to use it when it adds value. And there's so many ways to do that at the moment, but we just don't want to get too bogged down in it. We want to really use it for cool.
37, 23, 8, 24.
Try to use it for really use it for the right things and really make it impactful rather than just whacking it in there for the sake of it. But yeah, I mean, things like it's funny, like what Crypto J was just saying about using AI voice changes for characters. That sounds silly, but why not? Like there's a lot of cool little things you could do easily like that would add value and would add to the experience. And yeah, I mean, AI just makes it easy, and all these APIs and everything that are emerging now, it's exciting. It's really cool.
Yeah, so to Luke's point, it's a really good point that he brings up. The thing is that we're trying to leverage the AI to make it easier for people to access and use the tools and products that we've got, right? It's not just a buzzword that you say, let's cram it in, and it's another horrible user experience and another more complex part of what we're building. It's supposed to make it easier. But just to sort of also cap on a conversation we had today, but talking about those voice changing features as well. The thing is, like, this is moving so quickly that you could effectively, and I'm not saying we'll do this because I'm just giving you an example, you could actually let something loose in that game that's effectively an evolving character. So you could have a Dracula or an ogre or something that pops out and scares you, but you could actually do some basic AI integrations, and then that character could run around and end up playing hide and seek and scare you and all the rest of it. There's going to be some pretty interesting stuff done with characters that come to life. If you looked at some of the demonstrations that have been done on Twitter, a guy built something, I think it was called Smallville. He built a little 2D pixelated little world and put 10 AI, autonomous AI agents in there, and gave them a whole set of parameters and rules. And they started actually walking around. One of them said, I'm going to start running for elections, and I'm going to set up an election structure, vote for me. And he was walking around this little world telling all of the other autonomous agents to vote for him. And then when he was moving away, the other agents were talking to themselves saying, are you going to vote for him? So this is like a little world going on. So the possibilities for going beyond having a character that opens up a door for you in a shop or a district and saying, hello, welcome, to actually being to a point where, it's interactive and it's learning as you go. There's some pretty bloody exciting stuff that can be done here. And obviously the one thing that where this is heading for sure and certain is, you currently would go in there and you're trying to build something, or you're trying to work out how to customize something. There's the possibility to train these models and agents to be able to deploy and build. So instead of going shopping for developers for certain builds or for low-level stuff, you could actually use one of these AI-based NPCs or citizen-based characters, for example, and ask them to build something for you. So it's pretty exciting what can be done. I think we're just seeing the surface of it. And if you really look deep into it and you watch some of the demonstrations that people are putting together, they are relatively rudimentary, but they show enough to show you that you can see why people are worried about it for sure. Any update on VFOX staking? So the VFOX staking will start once we've got more revenue coming in. So we'll keep you posted exactly as to when, but we want to make sure that that's something that's fairly continuous, because how it happens is that with the contract type that we have, you would feed in a payment amount and then it ends, as you know. So we always say, okay, pool's ended, take your money out and start a new pool. So the idea is to have it so that it drips out in one pool, and then we can do that every quarter or however often. Will RFOX try and get on the show Killer Whales for publicity? For publicity and stuff, we'll look at anything we can from a perspective of publicity, but I believe from the video that I saw today, you've got, who's on that? Snoop Dogg and Mario Nafal and a few others, right? Yeah, so this is, we'll do anything we can from publicity. I think that talking to the potential clients and people that are looking at coming in, we're getting a sort of different perspective of what people see as valuable versus what we as a project might see as valuable. So again, once those two lines become less blurred and we can start getting creators in and opening it up a little bit, it's going to become a lot better for everybody. But again, we've put some questions together this week to try and cover some of the stuff that people are asking about. Did you guys have a chance to read this from Zardique Community Ideas? Small request, not RFOX. My team and I have been working hard on a new project called Stuffly. And we built it with the idea of making the most of the things we all have lying around unused. You know how we all love items that we bought but rarely use, expensive camera you purchased for a single trip, or the power drill. We're building Stuffly to help people turn those items into a source of income, while also helping others in our community who may need those items for a short period of time. Currently, the process of developing an MVP, engaging interest, and I'd like to kindly ask anyone willing to support to sign up for our whitelist. You can at www.stuffly.io. Thanks for the time, and repeat, this is not related to RFOX in any way, just my personal project. Okay. If anyone's got any questions in relation to that, so there you go, Artesh and Zardique. So maybe we can get some more information from you as well. But I think that what we're going to see is a lot more of people combining the physical world with the digital for sure. And certain, pretty much every conversation I'm having now involves people talking about tokenizing real world assets. And I know that's been a concept for years, but it seems as though everybody's interested in doing it now. A number of marketplaces coming out to do physical items through either NFTs or some sort of tokenization as well. So it's definitely an evolving space. So best of luck with that. Hi, what kind of event do you think should happen to trigger worldwide VR mania? Because prices of VR sets are already affordable when compared to top phones. I'll pass that over to you guys. Phil, Lala, Luke, someone want to have a stab at that one?
Sure, I'll go. Honestly, I'm not entirely sure what kind of mania VR will get. Every platform, every social platform has a certain attractiveness to it. And I think what would cause the VR mania would be when it becomes really, really seamless for people to see how socializing, building, seeing. I'm not sure if some of you remember MySpace, where you could build stuff, put notes there, make your sound, who are your top 10 best friends, shit like that. So I do feel that once we reach a certain point in the vault and we have all that connected, it would make sense for people to adopt it. And yes, VR headsets, I do agree, they're a bit more affordable now. But if you guys notice, it's actually been harder to get an Oculus of late. Amazon has been sold out for, I've been checking the last 3 months. So affordability and accessibility are two different things, at least for Malaysia as well. It's kind of skyrocketed a little bit for our side. Used to be cheaper last year. But yeah, for me, it's definitely when people see how seamless it is to be interconnected.
Damn, I couldn't find my mute button, and you answered that really well, Lala. I don't know if I've got much to add really, but yeah, I think as Lala said, the availability is an issue, obviously, because this is a common play when they're trying to get people to move over to new headsets. The prices got jacked up. That's not helping at the moment, but they sold 20 million of them. It's they're selling. It's a bit different from a phone as well, where the phone has multiple use cases, where the headset has a pretty narrow use case, which is obviously the gaming side of things. But bridging people over to VR and giving them a reason to go into VR, as Lala said, I think is the key. The 20 million people that bought one and currently, are sitting on that. That's an easy sell to get those people on board. But it's everybody else, yeah. And I just think it's about having a reason to buy it more than anything else. You've got a phone, you can install it on your phone. But if that's a gateway drug, then that's fine.
Yeah, Phil?
I think that I don't think that we've seen the kind of event yet that will trigger VR mania. I mean, I think at this point there's already there's a big enough market for us that exists. But for like worldwide mania, I don't think we've seen that yet. It'll be an experience that you cannot get any way else but through a VR headset. But I also think that live music events might be a big one, because it's really hard for people to be able to go see or even afford to check out live music. I think once we nail that, that could be a big driver for us.
Yep. Good answers. I think from my side, what I would say would be similar to what Phil said, in the fact that there'd be experiences that don't currently exist. If you've had a look at what people are using AI tools for now, someone's like literally explained scene by scene the trailer for Batman, and it's recreated that without having seen any visuals. And it's quite remarkable. It's getting better and cleaner now. I think that the technology is moving faster, like the development technology is moving faster than the headset's ability to, the poly count and the load and how much you can put on them at this stage. But I think the catalyst for VR Mania will be, you might say, your parents might say to you, when we were younger, we had milk trucks and they used to deliver the milk and stuff. You can go onto Google and search for what a milk truck looks like or whatever. But if you could create an environment that shows you a milk truck driving down the street so that people can visualize what it would have used to look like, then you're talking about memories, you're talking about people sharing experiences, and they don't have to be relevant to today. You could recreate scenes from Rio de Janeiro beach in the 1970s, for example. And once you can create shared experiences that mimic what life was like or real life, I think that would cause VR Mania, because that would be the only way you could access it. But I think the people in this call also understand that the headset technology, if that was available tomorrow, the headsets wouldn't be able to handle that. So it's a matter of these things will progress based on demand and how much money gets pumped into them.
And there's this conundrum where like people want the tech to move faster than it's moving, but they also want the prices to come down faster than they're coming down, and it just it doesn't work that way. I mean, obviously tech gets better and prices do come down, but not at the speed that people are expecting them to. It just doesn't. It's not real. It's not reality.
And you'll remember back in the early days, they were saying that the internet won't get any faster and dial up and all the rest of it. And they were saying, because how many times a day can you possibly be required to send an email? And then that changed to how many times a day could you possibly need to look something up? And now, you're glued to it. If Wi-Fi goes off or your internet coverage goes down for 20 minutes, people have conniptions. So it'll be a slow transition, but it will be a complete transition. There'll be people spending huge amounts of time in these virtual spaces and worlds. And again, if you've got the opportunity to learn by entering an environment, and again, I have to watch an old video from the 1930s or something, if I could walk around on those streets and see what it roughly looked like, of course they'd be built from people's memories or pictures or whatever, but if I could walk around and get a feel for what it felt like, that's pretty massive, I would assume. Would be cool if we had an event center concert venue. We've got multiple spaces that could already be purposed for that. We've got things from like the Dome in Calanova right through to rooftops in Cussar 5. Districts could act as that. The great part about where we've gone from where we were is that those instances that form the districts can actually be purposed to do anything. So that's very possible. And the guys have now made it so that you can actually see what it's like to play music inside of the arcade or music inside of an apartment. And the quality is pretty damn good, considering. Like, I would have thought it'd be a bit sketchy on a headset or whatever, but it's really, really good quality sound. And therefore, I don't think you're going to need anything outside of the standard headset or to be able to enjoy a concert experience. Brilliant theories here for AI use. Its future is really infinite, much further than door opening bots. Exactly. It looks like the blockchain industry has already set enough foundation now. It's mainstream going for the AI developments. The focus is changing. Now the Vault is prime for number one use case. The arcade needs to bring in Ali Roller Machine next Bitcoin Mania. Okay, I have to have a look. I don't know who they are. We've got a couple of 4 or 5 projects at the moment that are interested in getting districts and building out. So you're right about the developments and foundation and blockchain. I think people are realizing that the blockchain also is great for trustless transactions. It's great for verification, proof, all the rest of it. But combined with some of these other technologies, it was never supposed to be a one-stop shop for Web3. It's supposed to be something that allows you to do certain things, and it has limitations and restrictions, of course. but ultimately coupled with AI, that's actually, a lot of people say, oh, everyone's dumping blockchain and moving on to AI. Absolutely not. I think that blockchain combined with AI gives us infinite more possibilities. But no one should believe that, and I don't think anyone thinks that blockchain was the be all and end all. I think it's very, very purpose built to do certain things, not everything. Luke, agreed. It's the bridge situation where it fits in with what people are already doing and can add value on top of those things. Exactly. Like I go to a cafe, get a call, put my headset on, and the call is answered automatically as I put the headset on, and I'm sipping my coffee. I'm talking with my headset on. Yep. They need to get smaller for them to be with you all the time. It is happening though. Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? Because the way that that people sort of transitioned was to say people don't want to have more than one device, so we'll build these cardboard things, and you can slip your mobile phone in there and use it for two things. We always want to limit how much we carry around with us, so it's going to be interesting to see how it works out.
The Samsung headsets that they started making, though, that were compatible with Samsung phones for a while there, although they were getting outdated really quickly because you change your phone every year or two and then they don't work anymore. But they were getting really good, and Google Daydreams were excellent, considering they were just, it was just lenses that you slide your phone into. They actually got to the point where they were really good. And I'm not sure why they stopped. It was probably to do with both those, the lack of compatibility, but also I'm not sure how they would make money out of it because they weren't selling anything. But it just shows that you can do a lot with a mobile phone, and there is, they're more powerful now than these headsets that we're talking about anyway. So I think it'll evolve a lot. I don't think we've seen anything yet. I think this is just iterative improvements that we're seeing right now.
Well, actually, I got one of the videos that I was watching on VR stuff was a really, really interesting video. I reckon he's been to the school of Jordan Peterson and Ben Shapiro, but he was talking about, people were saying, what's the use case of VR? That's the question he was asked. What's the use case of VR? Why will people suddenly start adopting VR? And why would people spend time doing it? And he used a really obscure answer as his form of recourse and backing what he's saying, and that is this. He turned around and said, why do you have a television screen on your wall now? So what do you use that for? And the person said, I use it to watch certain stuff. What stuff? Why can't you watch it on your phone and stuff? No, if I want to watch a movie and I want to get a fully engrossing experience, I'll watch on my TV. Or sometimes I finish work and I've had a hard day and I want to be able to just sit down and not strain my eyes, and I want to look at a bigger TV screen. And he said, do you see when technology evolves, you have less use for things that were the only form of use or the only thing that you used in the past? If you have a look at the amount of television that a person watched each day on a television versus how much they watch now, he's 100% correct. And it's not till you go start searching it that you realize what he's trying to say is the thing that you think is the mobile phone and that the technology has to come to your phone. You've got to look at it to say, if a VR headset is all immersing and engrossing and it can couple up and carry phone calls, as you say, music and all the rest of it, then maybe the transition is away from the phone and you only use your phone for certain things. So it's just a different way of thinking about it, and it's easy to poo-hoo it and say that's wrong. But you go and have a look at data and trends, and there's lots of devices in your house. Look at radio. People used to only listen to radio 6, 7, 8 hours a day. Switched to television. Everything went to television. Television went to your phone. It's very, very interesting how all that technology evolves. Like phones, remember how big the first phone was, and they got really small until smartphones. Yeah, actually, many people have talked about, is it Stanley Kubrick, that Space Odyssey 2001? They were saying that everything that he predicted in the movie, or the people that wrote the movie predicted, came true, except for the fact that they believed that all computers and devices would get bigger, not smaller, as they became more powerful. So that's a very interesting thing.
The mobiles are getting huge now. You almost need to get bigger pockets to fit some of them in.
Yeah, and that's just like I thought that point that was worth bringing up, because when he started saying, "What do you use a television set for?" and you start thinking to yourself, "Well, hang on a second, I do watch a lot less telly. I view things on my phone," and they're right. Maybe it's just a movie or certain things that you want to sit down and get that experience. So that's all transitioned, right? And I remember when you probably remember it, when people used to set up their computers and stuff through their television. So they'd sit in their lounge rooms and be projecting their computers onto their TVs and go, have a look at that. It's up there for everyone to see. Big screen. I've got a hard drive on my computer and I can beam that to my television set and stuff. And it was like you're playing around with stuff from the next generation there. Satoshi Sky, he's got their alley roller machine next. That. Okay. Skee ball. We used to call that skee ball. Is that right? Skee ball? Skid ball.
Yep. Skee ball, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
skee ball.
Yeah, it's probably different in every country.
Yep. Loved these. Used to cheat as a kid and stand up to get nearer to the score. There you go. Have an Oculus. Got to try this game. Haha, it's my secret favorite. Overview. Kazuna AI. Touch the beat. Yeah, actually, how many times, Phil, have we heard people talking about like Beat Saber and stuff? A lot.
Yeah.
This is how my son plays. Ends up with a mountain of tickets and swaps them for a frisbee and some hard candy. Isn't it funny that the whole power of I've got 100 useless tickets, but I need 120 to get one of those little troll dolls that sit on the end of my pen. So I'll just keep.
Inflation's a bitch. Like you need hundreds now, and it's ridiculous. You sit there for hours and you get such a stupid little toy at the end.
It's well, I think it's not Seinfeld. It's it could be one of those shows where they talk about like Subway, and they said that they've eaten their way through 8 crappy sandwiches, and they have to keep eating the last 2 to get the free one.
Exactly. It works.
It definitely works. Is RFOX working on integrating HBAR blockchain? I think that one's a better question for Pete. I've seen a little bit more interest in people taking up HBAR, but ultimately it's based on the demand and again, what we've been talking about tonight as well is making sure that we've got good UI, got a good portal. Want to vary a lot of that in tech. So that people don't cheat, unless they're builders, creators, whatever, would not have to really worry about that so much. So there's a few things that we're doing to try and make it so that we've got a lot of that stuff hidden underneath. But if there's a demand there, look at that for sure. Would be cool if we could host daily to Twitter for promotion and could give packs prizes. I don't know, Nick, do you want to talk about the ability to stream something?
Yeah, I mean, that's obviously something we need to look at generally. Like live streaming is obviously a big thing, but I don't think it's not as easy to integrate it as it might seem. But it's something we definitely have to do. Obviously, not just from a marketing standpoint, but people just expect it now in games. They want to be able to stream the content. They want to be able to share it. But even, easy sharing of footage is one thing as well. I mean, that's a good stepping stone towards it. Being able to really easily get that those videos and images out and share them on socials, which we're sort of, we're working towards now. We've got a couple of options for sharing photos in there now, so obviously we can build on that. But we just need to work towards it. It's not something we're going to be able to turn on tomorrow. Plus, we got a hell of a lot of other stuff to work on at the moment. But yeah, it's I think it's really cool. And I mean, having the tournaments and sharing the videos, would be potentially almost as impactful as streaming it live. Anyway, I think.
Phil, since Pete isn't here, I'll ask your opinion on it. If I should use all my crafting materials to craft Grim2 packs or wait because there is something extra to craft this month?
I can't really answer that. I don't know that there's anything else to craft this month. You should definitely be staking for materials. But whether you should craft Grim2 packs, I mean, you know, Pete is. I know Gecko is doing it, so that's the best I can do for you, man.
Yeah, we've got a lot of holidays in this region at the minute, so we'll see if we can get him to tackle that for you when he comes back. So VR headsets will look like the ones on Player One. I don't know, I was forwarding to King KOGs something today. There's people that have got these air purifiers and filters on their faces now, and you've got these VR headsets like that. The thing is, if you were wearing one of those, you'd be a lot less likely to, if you lost a mobile phone, if that thing that the Red Player One uses was able to sort of be like a Polaroid and adjust to the lighting so that it's like a just protective eyewear when you're outside. It can also, if you get a call or whatever, turns darker. See that coming together pretty easy, I would think.
It could be a hard switch as well. Like, you wouldn't need to not necessarily transition from one to the other based on lighting or anything. If a call came in, like you said, or you wanted to start a game and that triggered the headset to transition, that would be all it would need to do. Could be event driven or trigger driven. That would be very awesome.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, people saying that people don't want to walk around with their faces covered and all the rest of it. I mean, it already happens in certain parts of the world. It's not far fetched to see some of this stuff coming together for sure. Paul Barron wasn't very impressed with Apple VR. He thinks that it was a premature reveal, but he's looking to see the sales number. Wasn't impressed with the Apple VR. He thinks it was a premature reveal, but he's looking to see the sales number. Well, just because something has high sales doesn't magically make it good, right?
Especially with Apple.
Exactly. So it'll be locked down. That'll be the issue. VR needs to be as open as possible. Plus, knowing Apple, yeah. We talk about it a lot, but the fact is that for this stuff to really take off, and we're using combinations of blockchain, AI, VR, they're all infinitely early. They're in their infant stages. They're not stable yet. They're not mass adopted yet. They don't have a lot of use cases for market fit, and combining them all together. It's like trying to carve a house with stone with a chisel and a hammer. You have to really get as many people as you can working with you. You have to open it up. You have to get people coming in and contributing to solve some of these problems. But this will evolve as we've learned in the last few months at such a rapid pace that certain other elements of those combinations won't be able to move at the same pace and speed. So it's going to be really interesting to see how the devices, like the headsets we talked about tonight, will marry up with the technology and the visuals and the graphics and the experiences that are being created, and AI, which is obviously moving at like freight train speed. Then you've got blockchain, which is slower and more cumbersome, and then you've got the legislators, who are the most slow and the most cumbersome of all. So the legislation will be 20 steps behind. So I think you'll also get to a point where people start pioneering and say it is what it is, and we'll worry about that stuff later. But as we've seen with crypto and all the rest of it, if you've got a fast-moving, a new genre or whatever, people will take advantage of that. They'll take advantage of the fact that other people don't understand it properly. So you get people that will prey on those who don't understand as well. So I'm sure you'll see lots of ill uses for the technology as well if it's not properly regulated or looked at.
Yeah, I think a mistake that is easy to make, and we're trying very hard to avoid, is hitching your wagon to Oculus, because I mean, at the moment they're winning, but that won't be the case forever. I'm sure someone else will come. Well, there are other companies coming along now that are obviously building it out. Apple for one, but there'll be this space will grow, and I think hitching your wagon to Oculus now would be dangerous. So we're doing a lot of work on making sure that doesn't happen. We want to use the best tech that's out there, but we also want it to be portable. So we're working a lot on the back end stuff, as we've talked about. Even little simple things like IAP, in-app purchases inside of the Oculus ecosystem. That's kind of, if you build tech around that, I think that's dangerous with the fact that this is the rate at which this is all moving. I think it's a dangerous thing to do. So we'll only ever do that if we absolutely have to. We want to be able to pick this up and put on the best platform, whatever that is, on the day.
Yeah, that's what I've got a question for you and Pete. For you and Phil. I think you and Phil would be able to answer this really well. But the thing is that's a very good point you make, because we don't know what is going to be the right wagon to hitch to with the pace at which this is moving, right? And many people have speculated that a lot of these AI / blockchain / gaming / platform / blockchain companies will all sort of merge and become super companies and all the rest of it. The fact is, no one knows how it's going to evolve. And you're talking about lots of different moving pieces. You're talking about different technologies all conversing in a way that that people have different views on the way that it's going to go. If you look at how we've built our metaverse space with having maintainable separated instances effectively, that's a very, very different way that other people have built. So it's not only hitching your wagon on some of the devices or the technology sets, it's also the way you build. And some of these earlier models, and I won't name names, but we know who they are, but some of these earlier projects have also have painted themselves into a corner, and they're new. When I say new, I mean in the last 5 or 7 years, and they're already in a situation where they're going, oh, fuck, it's probably a lot easier just for us to start again than it is to, pivot and move and try and change this or get this back on course or whatever. So you kind of get stuck down a path. So we've tried to make sure it's modular. But like Luke, you've seen the amount of decisions that need to be made and the roads crossing, and so have you, Phil. And so Phil, coming from a gaming background and seeing how different this is, and Luke coming from a different type of product background, what are your views on the fact that the roads and paths that we take and the rapid evolution of these industries all combining and the technologies? I think it's a lot more difficult than people think to get these to choose the right path without anyone knowing what the right path is.
Yeah, and I think in technology that's always the case. It's just about the rate at which it happens. So I think in a lot of industries that are more stable, like this might sound like a silly one, but computer hardware is pretty stable, and you can see the trajectory of that. You know roughly what's happening with that. Desktop PCs, laptops, those sorts of things. But even the surprises that they catch companies out. But you need to always be looking for that next thing. You always need to be as modular and mobile as possible. But it's the rate at which it happens. And my observation with this industry is just the fact that it's just moving faster, and you need to be what you could have probably planned for a year down the track, you need to be constantly looking at and planning for every day. And that's the trick. It's not about necessarily not being harder to adapt. It's just the rate at which you have to do it. That's my opinion anyway.
Yeah, I think at some point there will be a dominant player for content. Like for mobile, it's Google and the App Store, right? And I think for hardware, my feeling is it'll likely end up being Android based, like the Oculus. And then like all the Chinese handsets that came out after Samsung. Um, there'll be a common ground for all the hardware. So I think we are going towards the right direction, but at the same time, I think we are flexible enough to see changes coming down the road and be able to adapt.
Yeah, I think that the important point there, and you made a really good point as well. I think that that's definitely going to happen from the more open and collaborative platforms will succeed, especially with the rate that these move rather than a ring fence business for sure. But the thing is that to Phil's point, I think over the last few years in being involved in this project, I think people have seen if you pivot slightly, or you work out that there's a now faster, a better way, a stronger way to go. People have always seen that as you're changing your mind every 2 seconds or whatever. The thing is, what was once or what could have been perceived as a weakness, for example, is going to be seen as a strength, because the companies that can't adapt and move quickly and are modular, if they're not modular, they'll buy really, really quickly. So I think it's extremely important that people understand that your ability to adapt new things quickly is a massive strength, a massive strength. Benny, have you heard of Liithos? Yes, I've actually chatted to a couple of people about it. If so, what do you think? I don't really have a formed opinion yet. I'd have to do more. I think it's an interesting concept, but I'd have to have a look more into it. What problems will AI create? I guess is a question for everybody. I think just from my observations, and I'm watching a lot of stuff, reading a lot of stuff on it, it's really weird because every single person that seems to, and it might be just due to the fact that there's not a lot in the models to work with at this particular point in time, but if you go on and search videos for AI, deployment of ChatGPT, AGI, autonomous agents, whatever, these guys are sitting there on the internet, and it's predominantly guys. They're sitting there going, right, I've got my hands on ChatGPT. I've got the new API, and I'm going to put it to work and see what it can do. Almost every single one of them says, make me a business, make a lot of money, and make it so that I don't really have to do anything. So when you're talking about what problems will it create, I reckon I've watched 3 videos in the last 2 days where the people have said, put it on autonomous and it won't ask you questions and it will just develop. We would not advise this. They try and push, some of them try and push and say might run up costs for you, but they were saying it's experimental and it could be dangerous because they're not coming back and asking for permission to do stuff. It's just like off and gone. And they're all going, let's just press that and see what happens. I think that putting such a powerful tool in people's hands this early before it's actually been thought through and all the rest of it, I think that for my mind, people are trying to use this to make money. They'll use it to scam people, to trick people. So I think that from my perspective, the biggest problem with that AI will create is the fact that it is a person who doesn't understand how to ride a scooter is being put straight onto a Harley Davidson that goes at frightening speeds and they don't know how to drive it properly. So I'm more it's behind the wheel. Luke, Phil?
I think the biggest problem won't be the AI itself, but from outside, meaning regulation. People will be creating digital clones of celebrities, or the images that they create will be based off existing work. I think that's something that we're going to have to face when it happens, where people start complaining about copyright infringements and things like that.
Yeah, I was going to say basically the same thing as you, Ben, where I just think the danger will be people using it for nefarious purposes and exploiting that power they have with the AI side of things.
I mean, you've got these bloody people steal. This is like full I'm a prince from Nigeria type thing. You've got people now going out with YouTube ads saying live, Vitalik live, and he's actually talking from some, conference that he was at, and they're putting tickers on the screen saying there's a new token sale that you can't miss out on, and people are going, oh, and giving money to these token sales. You imagine when your favorite actor or personality and stuff, the levels of deep fake and stuff that are doing fundraising for a certain cause that's tailored and targeted to you. This is going to get like crazy bad for fraud. Lala?
And it's about personalization of things. I went to a security
Yes.
conference a couple of years ago, and they're talking about there was this email that went around at the time, which was about someone taking over your laptop camera and filming you watching porn and being in a certain situation with yourself watching the pornography and then taking photos and exploiting you that way. And the reason that worked, they were getting thousands of victims a day, and it was because most people were doing that on a regular basis, and it was enough, just that personalization, or that picking something that they were most likely would be guilty of was enough for them to actually go and pay that relatively small ransom and not take the risk. So when you can really drill down on people and really use that AI to gather information and target those emails, I mean, I hate to think what the quality that's going to be coming out.
Oh, for sure.
Quality is the right word.
Lala?
That is an interesting question about the AI part, because I recently went for a gathering with Malaysia Digital Economy Corporation. They manage Malaysia's, anything to do with digital content, graphics, cartoon work, and everything. And AI was a huge topic during that time. Main reason was that there aren't laws to protect these guys at this point. For example, if you were to say there's a cartoon here that's really famous, like Bobo Boy, goes into this whole AI process and someone uses it, what is the protection on that? How do you work it out? And it was a question that even the minister was kind of like, oh yeah, we'll get back to you on how we're going to manage things like that. But at the same time, there was a debate that the younger generation would benefit on something like that. So in terms of AI, I am very optimistic of what's to come. I think my nieces kind of nailed it. They've been using it. They've been using design work for that Midjourney, and they've been showing me what they do. It's scary because they're probably more than half my age and understand that this is something that's going to stay, versus my mom, who's just freaked out about, there's a scam that they can mimic your voice and people will assume that it's you and things like that. So I don't know. I guess for me it's a pro and cons in terms of AI. But if you look at the younger generation, which is what I tend to do, it's really adopting the positive sides of it. It goes down to the individual what you're going to be doing with it. So yeah, that's just my take.
Yeah, I think they're all equally valid takes, because we don't know, but we can only assume. Okay, so C11, I'll leave that for 1 second till the very end. Are there any measures being put in place to censor illegal or illicit activities in the vault? I think we've basically got a rough idea on that, as we've said before, where if these instances can be self-managed, it's a matter of, we need to have ground rules and a kill switch and all the rest of it. But ultimately, there always will have to be some form of censorship for sure and certain. But it's a matter of where you draw that line, and that's an evolving space that Lex Friedman's done multiple interviews and podcasts from anywhere from social platforms like Facebook right through to other easily accessible platforms, and I think the rules are still being defined. And the thing is, it also depends on the countries that people are in. So I think it's going to be a massive thing going forwards, and it's going to be a matter of having the ability to have a kill switch, because if you don't have that, and the good part about having this decompartmentalized and having it in instances is it's easy to sort of say, turn off the lights there, and that part's gone, and it's not like it's a contagion that's gone through the whole vault. So that's a really, really important differential as well, because if you contaminate or pollute a full Decentraland platform or a sandbox platform or a Roblox platform, it's much harder to segment. So I think that's one of the advantages to the way we've done it.
Yeah, there's also it's a fine line to tread as well, because you don't want to detract from the experience either, and we don't want to be police either. But one of the first things we added when we started doing the back end work was the banning ability. So if something does happen, somebody does go a bit rogue, we can cut them off. But we don't want to be police. We just want to find that happy medium where, if someone's doing something offensive, we can deal with it, but let people be, have fun in there and do what they want to do. But on some other platforms, I have noticed that there's a lot of toxic stuff that is really difficult to police, because some may see it as okay, but it's a turn off for me. It's something that actually stops me from going back in. So everybody's different as well, and that's really hard. It's really hard to find that balance when everyone's got a different level of sensitivity to things.
Yep. Okay. Will AI cause more chaos the World Wide Web? It's easy to, yeah, absolutely. Every single new technology that is a form of content distribution causes a new set of problems that we're going to have to deal with. And as was the case with the internet, most of those we don't know ahead of time. And unfortunately, we've got a lot of people that are idiots behind the wheel that will try and run amok. 5 seconds for Adelaide, that's funny. Well, thank you very much for the team and for you guys for attending tonight. Really appreciate it. Hopefully we've answered some questions for you. But I think that it's good that you're bringing up questions like a lot of this stuff as well, because they're open discussions and we don't have all the answers. We can tell you that we're working with this stuff every day and we're trying to fit it all together. But ultimately, the quicker we open this up to the community and developers and do this together, the better it's going to be. As Luke said before, not ring fencing and opening it up. And as Phil said, with the Samsung and Android and the open types of building, that's the way it's going to work. So have a fantastic week, guys. Thank you very much for joining us. We do have to have a beer pong tournament in the vault very soon. I can't beat any of you in Slam, but haven't dropped the game of beer pong yet. So really looking forward to getting in there and kicking some of your asses. Have a fantastic week, guys. Thanks for joining us.
Have an awesome night, everybody. See you guys.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys. Bye.